Welcome back to another episode of Simply Medicare. I'm your host, Debbie Stroup, and do we have an awesome topic that we're going to cover today? Have you ever found yourself with your mom or your dad, or perhaps even you, going, "What's a computer? How do I turn? What's Snapchat? What's Instagram? And what's a smartphone? Everything seems confusing and overwhelming, right? So we got a guy for you. So this guy is freaking awesome. First of all, we're all jelly because you're down in Miami. So we wish we were with you, but you can just bring your sunshine to our day. So thank you so much with your bright blue and your happy face. So we're so excited to have you on, Stefano. So tell us a little bit about who you are, and then we'll get into like all of the wonderful things that you're doing to help those of us who are confused and overwhelmed at how to even work a computer.
Wow. Thank you, Debbie, for that excitable intro.
It's exciting to me,
was-
truly, because we've all been there at one time. It's easy to forget, but we've all been there one time.
yeah. One, I just want to say thank you so much for having me here today. I really appreciate it being part of this. One, I'll start by sharing what we actually do, and then kind of how we started in the first place. Curvacacy actually is here to help older adults be more digital literate, be more tech savvy, and we primarily partner actually with payers and providers to make sure that their patients or their members are have the digital health literacy that they need to be able to have access to healthcare, to education, and then also address social determinants of health, which are so important for older adults, especially nowadays. I started this company back in 2020. Actually, about a year before that, a few years before that, my family and I decided to be caregivers to my grandma who's living with Alzheimer's. And ever since that experience, it's to this day, as a current caregiver, she was the inspiration for creating this in the first place. And I wanted to find solutions for older adults that ultimately at the time was to save me, get back my time, because as a caregiver, as well as I was a freshman in a university at the time. And so I wanted to find solutions for that. And I thought technology would be the best way to do it. But as I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I started to see that we still had such a huge digital divide amongst older adults and technology, and just what that means in general, especially for someone who may not have access to a technology education or anything that they can have access to the internet nowadays, which is so important because almost everything you need to do requires a form of digital literacy. And so that's how we kind of came to be, a mix of a caregiver experience as well as kind of looking at what the landscape was for the digital health world.
I think that is really amazing, because it doesn't have to be like, I want to know everything there is to know. Maybe we just want to know, how do I turn on this laptop, and then eventually, once I can kind of get past that, maybe I want to talk to my doctor. Telehealth. Maybe I can't leave the house. Maybe it's snowing, or I'm not feeling well and I need to talk to my doctor. And the rotary phone probably isn't the best way to do that anymore. And so, have you ever seen that, by the way, as a little sidebar, the like 18-year-olds who are trying to figure out how to use a rotary phone?
Yes.
Oh my
I
God,
have
it's
definitely
so
seen.
funny. It's so funny. They're like, okay, now just try and dial me. And they have no idea. Anyway, that being said, so, maybe it would be really helpful for them to learn how to just connect to the internet and to be able to reach out to their doctor. But also too, they're thinking, what is the internet? How can that even be? How is that even possible? So, I think you're bringing a good service. So if I'm interested in doing this, what is it that you teach me? How are the basics? If I don't know anything, what do you do?
Yeah, I did want to add into that story about like younger generations not knowing, technology of before. When I was 19, I found out what a Rolodex was, and then when I saw that and they pulled it out, I was like, this is how you keep all your contacts and everything
Yeah,
else. Like,
yeah,
it
yeah.
was very interesting to see that. And obviously, yeah, when someone mentioned that to me and they were just stunned by the fact that I didn't know what a Rolodex was. So I definitely
Yeah,
could
yeah.
relate to, I learn a lot, especially from our learners as well too, our older adults that we impact. So there's a very much intergenerational experience between the our team as well as their learners. But to
Yeah.
answer your question in regards to, like, where does someone begin, especially if they're, let's say, tech curious about learning about technology, as you mentioned, like if they're asking questions, if they're actually intently trying to figure out, like, what is the internet, how do I use it to my advantage, how do I have access to these things, that is actually the first step. Someone who is like really interested, it's their gears are turning, that's amazing. We love when people are like that. That's good. Ask questions, ask others, ask for help. That's like the most important step first when it comes to learning how to use technology. Because for most people, they're in fear of either being judged, or they might ask a dumb question, or they're not sure where to begin because they feel intimidated by the technology that's being put out there in the world.
Hmm.
But in reality, it really starts with asking the question, asking people, asking for help, which is so important. And then
Hmm.
second, if let's say there was no local programs or any options that you had, obviously we might be a good fit for you. But let's say, we work with us, you just simply go on our website, which is carevocacy.com, and then we have
Hmm.
about 3 solutions that we provide, which is we offer online private tutoring. So just simply how you would get a tutor for your child, you're basically getting a private tech tutor and learning about a topic that you're familiar with or you're interested in, or you have a special project. Let's say, I want a tech tutor to help me build my Facebook page. Those kind of things. It really depends on the learner, and we try to build a curriculum, a bespoke experience for that person when they want to have a private tech tutor. And let's say they love to learn in an environment that has other people involved. So, like, for example, group class, we offer that as well too. We offer online and in-person classes. Unfortunately, all of our in-person classes are only in the Miami Broward area in Florida right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And there's actually another layer to that. So we actually, one of our biggest partners right now is Humana. And so Humana members in Miami Broward County area are able to attend our classes through their primary care clinics. And so we provide those tech classes on site and really foster an environment of learning. And then our last intervention or solution is a much more AI digital literacy coach, where someone can simply text our number and ask any tech questions that they typically would ask, like a grandkid to ask. And they could text our number and not be judged. And then our coach will just give them all the answers, walk them through the steps in a much more accessible and scalable way. And so those are the
Hmm.
3 solutions that we offer. Ultimately, it's up to the person to decide what is the best path or learning style for them. But regardless if they use us or work with us, if we are able to help you find somebody that can help you, we can do that too. There might be organizations in your area that we have connections with. But it all starts with asking the question of, how do I use this? What is the internet? How do I get myself to be more educated about the topic?
Yeah. And I think somebody said to me one time, when they were talking, when I, back in the day, what is the internet? And they're like, it's a digital encyclopedia. And an encyclopedia. Oh, okay, okay. I can picture that, a whole set of encyclopedias there. And, I can just open it up. I can type in what I want, and lots of different things are going to come up. And
Yeah.
I think in the Medicare population, we tend to use Facebook a lot, and that has helped them feel more connected. But there's also a lot of people out there that don't have Facebook or are overwhelmed by Facebook. And is that something that you could help them? I know you said set up a page, but to me, it seems like once that avenue has been unlocked, it just opens up so many doors. They're connected to their family and their friends and seeing pictures, and you can help them with that.
Yes, definitely. So I love that you said that, like, it opens up avenues and doors and opportunities. And I think that's the primary focus that we try to provide, which is like, if it's not Facebook, it could be Instagram. If it's not Instagram, it could be Snapchat. If not all three of these major social media players, it could just simply be navigating a website, right? So
Mhm.
it really is dependent on what the person wants to learn and exactly how consistent they are too, because that's really important, right? Retention is key, especially when it comes to learning new things. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, variety of topics we can assist with. Ultimately, the hardest part about our job isn't necessarily even teaching the technology, but it's ultimately being a companion, being a friend, and sometimes a therapist, right? Because we have a lot
Right.
of our learners who've experienced unfortunate events through using
Mhm.
technology, and in fear of judgment and fear of other things, they don't want to share those things. But you could share those things with our team and ultimately help prevent those scams or fraudulent events. So I would say, yeah, we cover a variety of topics from online safety to accessing your email to online banking to taking classes online if you want to, or even just simply searching things up that you just need. We've actually had some interesting classes where we've introduced Chat GPT and artificial intelligence for our older adults. That might be
Mhm.
a very hot topic amongst people right now. But one of our
Yeah.
learners, he is around his 80s right now. He sends me AI generated images that he's made at
Aww.
80 years old, 80 plus years
That's
old.
awesome.
And he's just so happy. Like, he's just like amazed by how the art that he's been able to create. And he's also been able to use AI to develop like itineraries for his wife's birthday and things like that. He's been able to negotiate his lease with HOA because he's asked AI to kind of answer those questions that he couldn't answer for himself. So there's are some
Mhm.
like avenues that I think a lot of older adults miss out on just because one, they're not sure about how to use it, or they just don't have someone who can help them with that.
Mhm. Mhm. And so, do you find that most people, when they come to the class, do they have a computer or are they using their smartphone or maybe their tablet or iPad?
Yeah, so a majority of our on-site classes as of right now have been smartphone users. But
Okay.
let's say if someone was requesting for a private tutor, usually they are looking for someone who can help them with their computer or their laptop or things like that. It's really dependent on the person. So again, it doesn't really matter the device or the topic. It's just a matter if they show up and they're asking the right questions or asking questions in general, we'll be able to assist them or help them out with that.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Tell us a little bit about your grandma and more about that because I think that's a
Yeah,
really interesting story.
yeah, thank you. My grandma, she just turned 79 years old this year. So
Mhm.
I believe she's fairly young, but she is in her late stages of Alzheimer's,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's been an interesting journey in caring for her. One, a lot of the things that we do at Kervoxy is shaped by the things that I know about her and her life. And so when she was in the Philippines, before she retired, she actually was like a superintendent, someone who oversaw many schools. And she worked with special needs students as well. So the educator background kind of I didn't fall far from the tree as to like where I ended up doing. But ultimately she was just really a person who cared about the community, the people around it, but then also just had like a appreciation for art, fashion, and just like the fine things in life. And so knowing that on my grandma, and then to kind of see her in the state, it is a little bit, sometimes saddening moments, but when we ever
Yeah.
see those moments where she has her little attitude, her little
Yeah.
spunk about those things, we love it because her personality is very much still there. And I think for a lot of people,
Mhm.
it's hard, it's not easy, but we
Yeah.
live for those moments when she does show that. And yeah, I mean, even a lot of the things that we do, like sometimes one of our company values is also what kind of based off of her as well. And our product, our purple shirts as a company has been based off of the fact that purple is the color of Alzheimer's. So there's a lot of my culture and my journey as a caregiver that has weaved into the work that we do.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's my grandma. She's awesome. Yeah, there's days where she obviously needs way more help than I that she needs, and there are days
Right.
that she's all right. But that is the ebbs and flows of caregiving.
It is, and sometimes it might be easy to forget when when we're caring for someone, or even if we just meet someone, they have a story. You know, they
Yes.
had a family, or they had a career, or they were prominent in the community, or whatever. They have a story to tell, and sometimes that can be easy to forget or to overlook. So what about folks with Alzheimer's, or some other sort of thing that is in their life right now that perhaps could be a challenge? Do you still work with individuals that might have a cognitive impairment, I guess I would say, or a physical limitation as well?
Yeah, so in regards to those with either late stages of Alzheimer's or memory loss, we had done some work in the past with that. Primarily, we don't right now, just because the topics do require, retention, a little bit of
Yeah.
testing and things like that. So, like, unfortunately, my grandma is not, one of our learners nowadays. She's a little bit
Yeah.
too far into the disease itself. But if someone who has chronic illness and they are interested and they still want to pursue learning technology, will never turn them down, and vice versa
Okay.
for someone who may have, like for example, we've worked with older adults who has a little bit of shakes and tremors, right? And so we think about accessibility and how they can use technology in a way that fits for them. So, for example, with older adults who struggle with their fingers are shaking, their hands are shaking while using the mobile phone, we try to educate them on other options that they can have by using their voice to
Voice.
access the
Yeah.
phone. So there are many ways, especially because of technology, and as well as we continue to build more accessible tools, has been made it more easier for people who have either cognitive illnesses or physical ailments that could really be helpful in that. So I don't think it's impossible. We rarely do have a lot of learners that work with us in that regard. But as I said, like anybody's welcome as long as they're being tech curious and asking questions. I know, and I'm
Yeah,
serious because it's
it's
really
true.
the hurdle. Like
Mhm.
even with our current learners in these classes, they look at our tech tutors in our team, and you could tell that they have something that they want to ask, but they just they're afraid, they're not sure, they don't want to look like they don't know anything, but in reality it's we want to make sure like you feel comfortable in doing that, and that's from the private tutoring side to the classes to our AI. Like that's the whole, like that's the basis of where you start with education. So yeah.
I think that's awesome. How do people reach you?
In regards to by
Well, getting more
by email,
information. Yeah. They want to come
by dove, by
visit.
pigeon. No. Yeah, so let's
Tammy.
um no, so they can reach us in multiple ways. It really depends on the person, but let's say they can email me right at Stefano with a F, not a PH, Stefano at carevocacy.com. That's Carevocacy, CareVocacy.com. And they can email me directly, or they can do ask at carevocacy.com. They can email us that way. They can check our website. We're heavily on Instagram and Facebook as well too. We have a huge kind of TikTok-ish presence as well if they're interested to
Mhm.
be on there. We love doing videos with our learners and really showcasing what it looks like to learn, not just to showcase that we're old and fragile and we don't know anything. Like no, we're
Yeah.
here to change
Yeah.
the narrative on that. And so if social media
Yeah.
is a place to be, you can do that, or you could text our support number as well too. So there's a many ways to get connected with the work that we do.
Yeah. And you've been doing this, you said, since 2020?
Yes. Since 2020. Yeah.
Wow.
During the
That,
pandemic, during
yeah.
all the shifts and changes, especially in the state of Florida, and all the things that has happened, Yeah, no, it's been a blessing and truly just an honor, honestly, to be able to impact a lot of people and build a team that really understands like the work that we do.
I know in Medicare world, the folks needed a way to be able to keep in touch with their family and their friends, and it seemed like Zoom was the way to do it. I mean, Zoom had been around, but now it's like up and running, and people are, it's like using the word Google. Oh, I'll Zoom, you know, even though it might not be Zoom, it could be another avenue, but still. And so I think a lot of people had to do that to be able to keep in touch. But then there are those that maybe didn't have that opportunity. So I think this is a wonderful service that you're offering. I really do.
Yeah, thank you. And there's still a lot of folks in this country who does not have does not have any broadband access, right? So, yeah, so those are folks that may not be able to get on a Zoom, but there are also folks who've never been on the internet before, right? And so there are government and federal programs to support that as well, to help people with those broadband access. But, it's really important, like, to give that to everybody who are seeking out services like those.
Mm-hmm. So, really, anybody that's interested in learning more about the internet so that it doesn't seem so scary and it doesn't seem so overwhelming, and they're not going to reach out and grab you, I think you would be a great resource. And we do run into that occasionally with Medicare because they may be on the computer and then they click on something. They think it's Medicare or they think it's a legitimate website. And all of a sudden, within 30 seconds their phone is ringing and they didn't even know. And sometimes we run across people in Medicare where they were switched to another plan and they didn't even know, and it might have been because they talked to somebody on the phone or they clicked on something on the internet and they didn't even realize it. So it's scary, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. There are safe measures and things that folks can do to make sure that, mom and dad are on the computer and they're doing it safely, and understanding what they need to do is a result of you. So thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's taken off the burden from fellow
Mm-hmm.
caregivers like myself for being able to assist with their loved ones. And for the learner, it's given them the opportunity to be independent as well too, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
being able to navigate and understand whether it is a scam or it is something that's supposed to be real, it feels really good to be able to
Yeah,
say,
empowering. Yeah.
empowering to be able to say, oh, I prevented myself from actually clicking on that link that I wasn't supposed to, or I
Mm-hmm.
didn't fall for that trap. So it works in both ways. I will say,
Mm-hmm.
you had mentioned that this you're part of Medicare and working with a lot of people in Medicare. um, just a little fun fact. So the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services have now mandated all these MA plans, Medicare Advantage plans, to provide digital health literacy
Mm-hmm.
resources to all of their enrollees, which is an exciting moment for not only for
Yes.
us, but for all those members in these MA plans where they can have actual access to help them
Mm-hmm.
navigate through telehealth and patient portals and all these other things that or I'm sorry, insurance dashboards, all these things that we tend to overlook because if you just put a
Right.
link or an email that they'll figure it out. But in reality, for most Medicare Advantage members or Medicare in general, um, they do need additional assistance. So that's been a really exciting mandate
Mm-hmm.
coming in 2024.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I need assistance too. I'm on the computer every day and there's still things that it's like, huh? But to your point, you don't have to know everything to just be able to get on and have fun, do some learning, play some games, see some pictures out there of your family and friends. You don't have to know everything to be able to be a part of the community. Wouldn't you
Yeah.
agree? Okay,
Yes, I
good.
definitely agree with that. There's many simple ways to still be active in the internet instead of, creating a TikTok video, doing a Snapchat. Like you don't have to do everything.
Yeah,
It's just
right.
the one thing that could really help you stay connected.
Good, good. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being on here. I think that it's helped our viewers and our listeners to understand that you're not alone. And if you are caring for somebody, there are folks out there to help you through that journey. It doesn't have to be an isolation period. It can be a time where community can come together and help. So thank you very much for what you had to offer us today. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your
Yeah.
energy, and thank you so much for
Oh,
having me and the
yeah.
impact that you've had with your older adults as well too. So thank you so much.
I love Medicare. I really do. I mean, just like what you do. I mean, I get up and Sundays are no different than Tuesdays. It's just I get up and I'm really excited about it. And the more that we can help and the more that we can spread the good news, the better. And you're definitely a part of that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for being on. And that's another episode of Simply Medicare. I'm your host, Debbie Stroup.
If you've enjoyed this edition of Simply Medicare podcast and you don't want to miss any future episodes, please make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Please also leave comments and offer feedback so we can make this podcast the best it can be for you. If you need assistance with your Medicare sign-up or you just have general Medicare questions, make sure to reach out to me at 248-227-0347. You can also reach me online at michiganmedicarespecialist.com or through my email at debbie@michiganmedicarespecialist.com. I really look forward to working with you soon.